Yeah, I think that's a good question to reflect upon. I think, to me, what does really a clinician scientist mean? I would think it's a clinician who is knowledgeable about the disease area, understands the gaps in terms of fulfilling patients' need, but at the same time has the scientific interest and ability to collect data, analyze data, and also, most importantly, I think as a clinician scientist, one should be able to make an impact or a difference in the patient's journey.
So, coming from an engineering background, I've always been interested in innovation in general, but neuroscience has been one of the things that I've been interested in specifically since a very young age. And even when I was a student, I also approached Prof for another project. So it has evolved over time, but my interest in neuroscience, developing new things, especially for an impactful area, has always been there.
So I think managing time is not easy, but priorities change over time. Depending on the task at hand, depending on the deadlines, I think one needs to have the flexibility to see what requires a higher priority and what requires a lower priority, and then order changes according to based on time. Having that flexibility will allow you to deliver on different aspects. Like you said, seeing patients in the clinic is always an important priority, but at the same time, if you don't make time to do research and innovation, then what you can deliver to patients is also limited. So that flexibility is needed in, I would say, changing a priority depending on what is the need. Yes, definitely. I mean, I think I've been a clinician scientist for almost 10 years now. A lot of new scientific methods. Also, I think over the last few years, AI, how do you bring in artificial intelligence, different methods of AI into what you're doing? How can you look at data differently? I think in the past, we are all using very specific hypotheses and objectives, but I think having the flexibility to work with data, I think that has something new that I've learned over the coming years, or over the last year, sorry. And I think that has been tremendously helpful.
So since graduating, I've experienced a lot of new things, applying for grants and funding, and how do you craft your idea and how do you validate it and also craft it into a story that gets funding. I think that's one important part of it. Also understanding what is actually needed and what is a big problem in the market to be solved. So applying for various grants, as well as talking to different people, different stakeholders, whether it's users, potential customers. So these are the things that really, I think, you only learn when you go out there and talk to people. Yeah, I mean, I would say there's a lot of uncertainty whenever you try doing something new and something that doesn't have a fixed path to success. So there's obviously a lot of uncertainty which you kind of learn how to deal with, as well as having small validations along the way. Like, how do you test your idea, test your hypotheses, not the research hypothesis, but your own hypothesis of what your company and what your idea is going to look like. So having those small validations along the way is very important, I would say.
Two key elements would be, number one, passion, and number two, a determination to make a difference. I think the journey as a researcher, as a clinician, is not easy. It's filled with a lot of barriers, initial failures. But I think if your passion and your will is there, definitely that can be achieved. I think while focusing on short-term outcomes, I think as a clinician scientist, one also needs to take a concept of how can I make a difference over the longer term in a particular disease field.
I think the most important thing is to go out there and get feedback, trying to get validation whether it's from, it really depends on the space someone is in. For, I think, our healthcare space, it's about like going out there, talking to potential users, patients, family members of patients, as well as doctors, whoever's in the whole sort of stakeholder value chain, talking to them, getting feedback as soon as possible before, because I think as engineers we want to build things, but we also should build what is actually useful, and I think that is the most important thing.
Yeah, I can start by saying that I think DRCS now is about going to be close to 3 years, and I say OIE has been with us throughout the journey, right from discussions on what to develop, how to develop, regulatory pathways, how to establish a startup, what are the considerations. I think the inputs have been really valuable.
I think I wouldn't be here without the support of OIE and Poinam in the initial stages. She was a key driver in bringing me and Prof together. So, and along the way, Poinam and you have helped us quite a bit in, whenever I've had questions, needed feedback, grant applications. So it's been a continuous journey in terms of getting feedback and getting advice, and it's been a lot of help.